Have you ever bought something you didn't need just because it was about to sell out? Or felt anxious after seeing a limited time offer counting down on your screen? If so, you've experienced FOMO, fear of missing out, and marketers are exploiting this psychological vulnerability more than ever before. Hi, and if you're someone who values making rational decisions but still finds yourself falling for clever marketing tricks, this video is specifically for you. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on exactly how marketers hack into your brain's fear center to trigger impulse purchases, and more importantly, I'll show you how to build immunity against these tactics. Stay with me, because at the 15-minute mark, I'll reveal the single most effective technique that marketing experts don't want you to know about breaking the FOMO cycle. Before we dive in, tap the like button if you've ever experienced FOMO, and let me know in the comments what marketing tactics you've noticed recently. 1. The neuroscience of FOMO. Let's start by understanding what's happening in your brain when you experience FOMO. When you see that only 2 left in stock message, your amygdala, the brain's fear center, activates, triggering your body's stress response. This isn't random. It's an evolutionary adaptation that once helped our ancestors survive. The problem is that marketers have studied this response extensively and have engineered their messaging to target this primitive part of your brain. What makes this particularly effective is that this response happens faster than your rational thinking can intervene. Research from Stanford University shows that emotional decisions happen approximately 200 milliseconds before logical reasoning kicks in. Think about the last time you panic bought something. That split-second decision wasn't made by your prefrontal cortex, your brain's rational center. It was hijacked by your amygdala's fear response. Understanding this mechanism is your first defense. When you recognize FOMO sensations, that tightness in your chest, the sudden urge to act quickly, pause and consciously engage your prefrontal cortex by asking, will I still want this in 24 hours? Am I responding to actual value or just scarcity? What happens if I actually miss this opportunity? In a recent experiment at Cornell University, researchers found that participants who were taught to recognize FOMO triggers were 67% less likely to make impulse purchases when exposed to scarcity marketing. So remember, FOMO isn't just a feeling. It's a specific neurological response that marketers deliberately trigger. By understanding the science, you've already strengthened your defense against it. But this is just the first layer of protection. Let's dive deeper. 2. The 5 most common FOMO triggers. Now that you understand what's happening in your brain, let's expose the 5 most common FOMO triggers marketers use to manipulate your decisions. Most consumers believe they can identify obvious marketing tactics, but these 5 triggers are designed to fly under your radar. Artificial scarcity, limited edition products that aren't actually limited. Social proof manipulation, displaying 12 people currently viewing this item. Disappearing opportunities. This offer expires in 10 minutes. Exclusivity illusions. Join our VIP list for access to what's actually available to everyone. Progress acceleration. You're only $10 away from free shipping. Each of these triggers exploits a different psychological vulnerability, creating an ecosystem of pressure that's difficult to resist. For each trigger, I've developed a specific countermeasure. For artificial scarcity, implement the 2-week rule. Bookmark the item and return in 2 weeks. If it's still almost sold out, you've caught the manipulation. For social proof, disable shopping website notifications and use browser extensions that hide these elements. For disappearing opportunities, create a return policy calendar. Set a reminder for 1 day before the actual return policy expires, giving yourself time to reconsider. A 2023 study in the Journal of Consumer Psychology analyzed 200 e-commerce sites and found that 82% used at least 3 of these FOMO triggers simultaneously. Researchers observed that when these tactics were combined, consumers were twice as likely to make unplanned purchases compared to sites using just one tactic. By identifying these 5 common FOMO triggers, you're developing pattern recognition that will serve as an early warning system. These tactics work best when you don't recognize them. Now you will. 3. Social media's amplification of FOMO. The third critical element to understand is how social media has created the perfect environment for FOMO marketing to thrive. Social platforms aren't just places where FOMO occurs. They're precision-engineered FOMO generation machines. The average user sees 5,000 plus ads monthly, with algorithms specifically serving content that triggers comparison and inadequacy. What makes this particularly insidious is that FOMO content isn't just coming from brands. It's coming from your friends, influencers you trust, and seemingly organic content that's actually sophisticated marketing. The result? A constant state of mild anxiety that you're missing experiences, products, and opportunities that everyone else seems to be enjoying. Here's how to reclaim control of your social media experience. First, conduct a FOMO audit. Track for 1 week how often you feel inadequacy or urgency after viewing social content. Identify specific accounts or content types that trigger these feelings. Second, implement algorithm retraining. Actively interact with content that makes you feel content with what you have, while selecting not interested on FOMO-inducing content. Third, establish FOMO-free zones. Designate specific times and places where you use social media with purpose rather than passive scrolling. Research from the University of Pennsylvania published in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology found that limiting social media use to 30 minutes per day led to significant reductions in loneliness, depression, anxiety, and FOMO. Participants who implemented structured social media boundaries reported a 53% decrease in impulse purchasing behaviors compared to the control group. Social media isn't inherently problematic. It's how we interact with it. By restructuring your relationship with these platforms, you'll not only reduce FOMO-driven decisions, but also experience greater contentment with what you already have. 4. Real-world FOMO marketing examples. Now let's analyze specific examples of FOMO marketing in action across different industries, so you can recognize these patterns in the wild. FOMO marketing isn't just evident in obvious examples like flash sales. It's evolved into sophisticated cross-platform campaigns designed to create immersive FOMO experiences. Consider how travel companies show 2 other people looking at this hotel, while simultaneously displaying only 1 room left at this price, and 70% booked for your dates. Or how streaming services promote everyone is talking about certain shows, creating cultural FOMO that's often manufactured through coordinated marketing rather than genuine popularity. These examples demonstrate how FOMO marketing has evolved beyond simple scarcity to create multidimensional pressure. To combat these sophisticated techniques, develop marketing mindfulness. Consciously question whether urgency is being manufactured by asking, who benefits from my immediate action? Practice competitive research. Compare the exclusive deal across multiple platforms to verify its actual exclusivity. Use price tracking tools like Camel or Honey to see historical pricing patterns and identify artificial sales. This manufactured scarcity tactic has been well documented by consumer protection organizations. In 2022, the UK's Competition and Markets Authority investigated several major booking platforms and found that many displayed the same limited availability messages regardless of actual inventory. Similarly, Cornell University's hospitality research found that 76% of accommodation sites studied used some form of artificial urgency messaging that didn't accurately reflect true availability. You can verify this yourself by checking the same hotel listing across different devices or browsers. The only 1 room left often appears consistently despite varying search parameters. By examining real-world examples, you're developing pattern recognition that works like an immune system against FOMO marketing. This awareness doesn't just protect your wallet, it protects your mental well-being by reducing anxiety-driven decisions. 5. Building FOMO immunity. Now for the most powerful section, how to develop comprehensive FOMO immunity that protects you against even the most sophisticated marketing tactics. The challenge with FOMO isn't just recognizing individual tactics. It's developing a resilient mindset that remains stable despite constant exposure to triggers. Most consumers attempt willpower-based resistance, which research shows depletes over time. Others try complete avoidance, which is impractical in our connected world. The real solution requires rewiring your core psychological responses to create immunity rather than resistance. Here's my 4-step FOMO immunity framework. Value anchoring. Before any purchase, explicitly define what value means to you for that category. Create a written value rubric that any purchase must satisfy. Emotion labeling. When feeling FOMO, literally say aloud, "I'm experiencing marketing-induced FOMO." This simple act shifts brain activity from the emotional amygdala to the rational prefrontal cortex. Reverse questioning. Instead of "what will I miss if I don't buy this?" ask "what will I gain if I don't buy this?" Time, money, space, peace of mind. Satisfaction journaling. Weekly document purchases you're genuinely happy with versus those you regret. This creates a personal database of decision-making patterns. A 2023 meta-analysis published in the Journal of Consumer Research examined 27 studies on consumer decision-making and found that consumers who practice structured decision frameworks similar to these 4 techniques reported 58% fewer regretted purchases. Additionally, the American Psychological Association's consumer behavior research indicates that explicit emotion labeling can reduce impulsive decision-making by up to 63% in high-pressure purchasing scenarios. True FOMO immunity isn't about fighting each marketing tactic individually. It's about transforming your relationship with consumption itself. These 4 techniques work together to create a psychology of intentional choice rather than reactive fear. Conclusion. We've covered significant ground in understanding how marketers exploit the fear of missing out to influence your decisions. To recap the key insights, FOMO marketing targets specific neurological pathways designed for survival. The 5 common FOMO triggers each exploit different psychological vulnerabilities. Social media creates a perfect environment for amplifying FOMO. Real-world examples reveal pattern recognition opportunities. Building FOMO immunity requires systematic mind retraining. As you leave this video, remember this. Marketers spend billions studying how to trigger your insecurities, but you now have something more powerful, awareness of exactly how these mechanisms work. I understand you might be thinking, this all makes sense, but will I actually remember these techniques when I'm in the moment? That's why I've created a free downloadable FOMO defense card you can keep on your phone to reference before making purchases. The link is in the description. You're now part of a more conscious consumer community. People who make decisions based on genuine value rather than manufactured fear. If this information helped you, please hit the like button and share with someone who might benefit. Drop a comment with your own FOMO experiences or questions, and I'll personally respond to as many as I can. In my next video, I'll be revealing how retailers design physical stores to trigger impulse purchases. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. Until then, remember, true satisfaction comes not from what you buy, but from buying with intention.